Hey, what's good, fellas? Welcome. I'm going to assume that you've just discovered the world of FPV drones, and you probably have a bit of experience flying GPS drones. And trying out manual mode or acro mode, you've discovered that it's a lot more difficult than you may have assumed. But I'm here to give you 9 daily drills or practices that will help you advance as a pilot very, very quickly. They're the drills that I do on the regular still to this day after flying for 16 months now. But let's just jump into it. Okay, so the first major difference that you're probably not used to is the throttle stick doesn't auto center, it goes up and down. You want this because you want to be able to leave it at a certain spot, because that's going to be very, very helpful in flight. You won't want to let go and have it auto level, because you're not going to have a hover mode anymore. You have to hover by yourself. But then instead of things being right and left and forward and backwards, you're going to have roll and pitch, and then your yaw will be the same. This is the only thing that's the same is your yaw. That's what you're used to, so you spin left and right. But then I'll jump into holding a drone in a sec, and I'll explain to you what the yaw and roll is. Okay, so you have to excuse me, I don't have a name brand drone. This is one that I built myself, but with a GPS drone, it flies in a thing called angle mode, which means when you press a stick, it only tilts to a certain angle, which is predetermined in the software of the drone. Then when you switch to manual mode or acro mode, anytime that you move the stick, it inputs a certain amount of revolutions per second or a spin at a certain rate, and it'll keep going forever. But if you press the stick to the right a little, it'll rotate to the right, but then it's going to stay like that until you autocorrect and bring it back by moving the stick the opposite direction. Angle mode, there's no auto level or assistance, so you have to be in full control at all times. So the 4 major axes that you have is throttle, because with gravity you always have a force coming down. Your drone's always accelerating towards the earth, but then you want to use your throttle to spin up the props and have an acceleration pushing the drone upwards. And to bring it to a hover, you have to balance the amount of acceleration from gravity with the amount of acceleration from your thrust. Yaw, left stick, left and right, does your head, no. There's pitch, which is right stick forward and backwards, which does the drone up and down. It's like lifting your head up and down. And then there's roll on the right stick, which does this. It's like tilting your head left and right. So another concept that's really important to learn is your camera angle up tilt, which is essentially if my drone is flat and level, my camera is pointed up at a 30-degree angle away from the level of the ground. And that's important because when you fly forward, you have to pitch forward so that your drone will have enough thrust to go forward. But then you don't want your camera looking straight down at the ground. You want it looking forward where you are, so that when I pitch forward at a 30-degree angle, my camera will be level with the ground. My horizon will be at the middle of the screen. And the reason why we need to understand this is at your different pitch, you have a different amount of coordination that you need to do between yaw and roll to make your drone turn. Because if you are pitched forward and traveling forward and you try to turn left with the left stick like you would on a GPS drone, your drone's going to do this. And that's not going to help you turn. But then if you try to do it with the right stick, your drone's going to do this. And that's not going to help you turn either. So you need to balance both your yaw and roll to try and keep the drone on a level axis so that the horizon always stays level. But that's the basic concept of a coordinated turn. And we're going to step into that drill right now of how to understand and perform coordinated turns. All the time when I'm teaching new pilots how to fly, they're used to flying GPS mode and they always want to turn by using roll, and they end up doing this, which is not how you turn. And they also sometimes try turning with just yaw, but that does this, which is something you don't want to do. So the first thing that you want to learn is how to do what is called a coordinated turn. And best way to do this, get up nice and high in the air, somewhere where you're not going to crash immediately, and then with the horizon in the middle of your screen, just spin in a circle and try to keep the horizon as level as possible. Notice I'm syncing right now, so you're going to have to balance your throttle as well. And then do it again the opposite direction. Something to keep in mind, as I'm a fixed up tilt, the angle of my quad is changing each time that I change where the horizon is on my screen. So if I have the horizon pretty low to the screen, I can do a yaw spin with virtually just yaw. But then if I have the horizon close to the top of the screen, I can do it with almost just roll, because I'm almost at a 90 degree. So the lower the horizon, the more yaw you have to use. The higher the horizon, the more roll you have to use. So with this, the higher the horizon, the faster you're going to go, and the more you have to coordinate your turns. So notice that I have to move both sticks together to keep things balanced. That's basically the fundamental of a coordinated turn. I start off each flying session by doing a few yaw spins. It's honestly the best way. The first time you try it, you're probably going to be all wobbly and not get your coordination. Just stick through it and slowly try and just get the horizon nice and level each yaw spin. And if you do that for your first pack or first half pack each time you go fly, you'll within a week or less, you'll have your coordinated turns figured out and commit those positions of horizon versus coordination, like the height of the horizon on your screen versus where you need to coordinate your sticks to keep a yaw spin. You'll commit that to muscle memory and things will go much smoother. So once you have yaw spins down and are able to maintain a level horizon, the next step would be your coordinated turns. Okay, so the next daily drill is find a location like this where you have, 3 trees. You need at least 2. And then try to just slowly fly, doing yaw spins between each tree. And try to focus on keeping your horizon as level as possible. And just keep figurating the trees. It's as simple as this. A turn is just a yaw spin and keeping your horizon level. Notice you drift through your turns. That's something that you want to be doing. It feels unnatural at first because you're used to driving a car, I would assume. You're not used to driving sideways or drifting. But as you tighten up your yaw spins and as you commit this more to muscle memory, you'll be able to start turning before your turns and you'll spin right through where you want to go through your turns. Most of the time on a racetrack, you'll notice a racer's going through a gate sideways, or they're turning before they're even going through a gate. And so just nice, smooth. Try and focus on a level horizon. None of this yank and bank stuff, because you're killing your speed. If you ever yank and bank like this, you're fighting against yourself. You're using your own energy to slow yourself down. It's like using your brakes on a car going through a turn. Not a good idea. But it's as simple as that. Just do that drill as well as your yaw spins to start off each day. So then the next important skill that you should commit to muscle memory is what I refer to as coordinated altitude, but it's essentially as you're flying, you have a hover. When you tilt forward, you're going to have to increase your throttle or else your drone's going to start to sink because your thrust is now going backwards behind you. It's not equal to gravity anymore. So each time you tilt forward more, you have to give more throttle to maintain the altitude of your drone. But then if you pitch back and you don't reduce your throttle, you're going to shoot way up into the sky and pop up into the air. So this is essentially just a drill to try and learn to fly low to the ground, keep proximity while going forward and backwards and fast, slow, fast, and slow. So let's just jump into that now. A lot of people, when they're learning out, they keep their horizon at the same and they just sort of bop up and down and do their altitude control strictly with their throttle control, which is a very, very bad habit to have. So essentially what you want to do is I would suggest learning slow at first. So what you're going to want to do is on a nice straight line somewhere fairly level, get nice and low to the ground and keep the horizon at the same spot, somewhere you can remember. And then notice you just sort of have to balance your pitch. And you just want to try and keep the same area to the ground. There's a slight hill here, so I have to pitch back a bit. And then because I'm pitching back, I have to increase my altitude ever so slightly. So essentially, you can fly forward with the horizon really low to the ground, and you're barely moving at all. As you increase your horizon, the drone's going to drop, so you have to increase your throttle. So essentially, whenever you change where the screen is, or where the horizon is on your screen, you have to change your throttle. So you're constantly balancing your pitch access as well as how much throttle you're inputting. So if I want to go fast, I have the horizon down and I have to throttle up a lot. And I'm trying to jiggle the two together to find the nice balance point. It's as simple as that. It's just a matter of each time you change your pitch, you have to change your throttle. No doing anything like flying forward and just only pitching up like this to get over objects. The best way to do it is if you're, coming at a tree or something like this, you're nice low level, instead of throttling up to get over the tree, much better, sorry, a bit of prop wash, much better to pitch back, throttle up, pitch down, pitch, throttle down, come back, pitch up, throttle up. It's all a balancing act, because when you don't coordinate the two, you start to fly around like Flappy Bird. And I mean, some freestyle pilots like that, but it's honestly bad habits that we're trying to break here. Trying to get you the fundamentals so that you learn quick and fly smooth, and learn the right habits, learn the proper way to fly. That's essentially coordinated altitude. So again, it's just about low flying, balancing your pitch, balancing with your throttle, and then balancing your roll with your yaw to get nice flow, or nice low smooth horizons, and trying not to bounce up and down too much so that you're not flying like Flappy Bird. So I guess this is more of a part B to controlled altitude, but if you imagine, you're going to want to be able to learn to change your speed as you're flying. So if you're chasing a car or something, they put on the brakes. To slow down, you have to lower your horizon on the screen so that your drone flies down, but at the same time you have to adjust your throttle, almost come to a hover if you need to stop. And then the car takes off, so you have to dip your throttle forward, your drone starts to drop, you have to balance your throttle again. You need to slow down again, so your horizon comes up. Takes a bit of time to slow down, but it's good practice to go between a low horizon on your screen and a high horizon on your screen. Practice variable speeds. So we're going fast, and we need to slow down. We need to speed up. We need to slow down. We need to speed up. We need to slow down. It's a matter of balancing your throttle with your pitch and balancing the level of the horizon on your screen. The higher the horizon, the faster you're going to go. The lower the horizon, the slower you're going to go. So then after you have coordinated altitude or speed control under your grasp, the next, I would say, this is one of the most important things, is to learn to hover the drone so that it stays in a spot the way that a GPS drone would if you let go of the controller. But essentially, you have to try and find your balance point, and while you try to do this, your drone's going to be going all over the place like this, and it's just a matter of trying to counteract the movements to try and keep yourself in one spot. And I found that the easiest way to learn this is to find two objects in the distance and try to essentially find a parallax. So right now I'm creating a parallax between the camera and my finger and the drone, and you want to try to keep the drone so that it's blocking the camera or the object behind. You'll see in the next video, it'll make a lot more sense, but using a parallax between two objects while getting close to the first object makes learning to hover much more simplified.
And we're just going to try and keep it lined up, balanced with that hydro line behind it. And this is kind of like a balancing act. Hovering is not easy at all in Acro, but it's a very essential skill, especially if you're setting up a frame for a shoot. You're waiting for everyone to say action and go. It's essentially, you get your horizon at the point where you're not going forward, you're not going backwards. Of course, I'm doing that as I say. But you're essentially just balancing your roll and you're just balancing your roll and your pitch to try and counteract your movement. So if you're drifting left, you roll right. If you're drifting backwards, you pitch forward. And practice this. Practice hovering, because that's how you land, right? Anytime you want to land, you come up to your object that is your landing pad, and you just get yourself to a nice hover and then slowly decrease, and you're on the ground.
This next skill takes a lot of practice, and I would say it's incredibly crucial to have in your muscle memory. And it's instead of using the panic mode button, it's emergency braking, so that you can stop really fast. Because with the emergency braking, it might take a little bit of time. Much better, like the amount of time that it's going to take you to press that button and then all the systems to kick in and stop the drone. If you have emergency braking committed to muscle memory, you can do the maneuver in the same amount of time that you can press that button, and you'll just be that much quicker. Plus, it'll help you with crashes, as you'll see in the future. But essentially, all it is when you're flying, sorry, let's find an angle here. So if you're flying toward an object, what you want to do is just spin your drone around, get your butt towards the object you're going to hit, and just throttle away. It's easy as that. Let's just jump into the tutorial and you'll see how to do it.
So the reason that we do nice level yaw spins to start off our day and get comfortable with our coordination is a yaw spin is the quickest and safest way to do an emergency brake. So for safety's sake, we're going to fly at this tree. We need to stop, so we do a yaw spin, slam on the gas, and we're going to turn around 180. So you're going towards your object, do a 180, do a little punch, and then get your coordination back. It's the easiest way to stop is a 180 yaw spin with your nose down and just a quick little punch out. Anytime you crash, you want to crash on the belly of your drone, because that's going to be the strongest spot. You don't want to crash onto an arm or onto your action cam. So anytime you want to crash, I'm going to do it for, we're going to pretend that there's a building here, but I'm going at this tree too fast. I know I'm not going to be able to stop, so I put my belly towards the tree and I land on my belly against the tree. So many times I've done this. I can show the footage. I did a waterfall dive. I realized I was coming in too quick. Flipped to my belly, hit the rock with my belly. Drone was completely fine, even though I was going, I don't know, 50, 60 kilometers an hour, if not faster. But again, when you practice your emergency yaw spins, do it from both directions. Oops, sorry. That's why you need to do it from both directions, because apparently I'm not good at doing it left. And then again, do an emergency yaw spin to the right, and we're into the tree. But we have that muscle memory of how to get to hover. No panic mode here. Put the screen, put the sky to the top of the screen and throttle out. Hope you don't bottom out. But again, those are reasons why you want to crash with your belly, because that way I was able to bounce off the tree with my belly instead of getting my props stuck.
So then the next skill is just learning how to do an orbit around a specific object, so that you're continually traveling around. I can't do that right now, but my arm's getting in the way of my arm. But a lot of people, when they're first learning orbits, they'll tilt the drone sort of forward and at an angle, and they'll have a canted angle and spin around the object like this, keeping the leading arm down. It's not something you need to do, and you really shouldn't be doing that if you want to get nice level cinematic footage. And essentially all it is you're just drifting through a turn around an object. You have to start with a little bit of momentum, and you're going to maintain that momentum as you keep turning around the object. And you'll see, I'll explain in the flight footage.
With a nice level horizon, and essentially you're just turning around an object continually, trying to keep your level horizon. Try to focus on keeping a horizon level and keeping your object you're orbiting in the same location of the screen. A lot of people, when they learn orbits, they do a canted angle so that it gives them a lot more speed. That's not essential. Essentially, because of the nature of a drone, as you're turning, you're drifting at the same time too, because you still have the horizontal momentum of your drone going. So you can just keep drifting through the corner with a nice level horizon. You don't have to lean your arm forward or anything.
So now that orbits are done, I would say the next important skill to have is to learn to auto level the drone yourself with muscle memory. And this takes a lot of practice. This one will take you at least a month of trying every single day, plus trying it out in the sim. But essentially, anytime you hit something, there's things called air mode and like other sensors inside the drone that's going to fight against the object you're going to hit. So if you hit something with your prop, the drone's going to fly off randomly in some random direction because it thinks that tree is a strong gust of wind, fights against it. But all the time you're going to bump something, you're going to be upside down, throttling towards the earth, and you want to learn to commit to muscle memory to just flip, find the sky, and throttle out. Really, really important. It'll help save your drone, save you a lot of money if you can master this one. But once you get it down, it's brilliant.
You want to get good at doing panic mode yourself instead of relying on that button. So essentially, find a nice safe spot where, I mean, not above concrete ideally, but I trust myself, maybe over a big field. And once you're up nice and high, doing some yaw spins, getting the idea, just flick your sticks and then come out to a nice level and try to just balance and catch yourself. Do this all the time. It's really, really good practice. You'll want to practice in the sim too. Anytime you like bump into an object or you're going to crash, don't just reset the sim. Try to switch into panic mode, level up, level out, and keep flying the track. So then again, just get up nice and high, flick your sticks randomly, and then just level out. Catch yourself. You want to put yourself into a blackout moment where you don't know what's going on, and just do it over and over, all over the place. So just do a half second to a full second, depending how high up you are, of just flicking your sticks around randomly, and just catch yourself. Bring it back to a hover. Really essential skill, especially when you're low in proximity, because anytime you bounce off of a tree or something, your quad will just randomly kick out at a random direction, and you want to find the sky, keep it up above, and just bring yourself to a hover. It'll throw you sideways sometime too, so you want to find your sky and level out. Stop your momentum.
So now we're starting to get to like more advanced control skills that'll help you pick up the pace and have a lot more coordination and control of your drone. If you do it every single day, practice it, you'll get faster and faster at it, and it'll help fine-tune your coordinated turn skills. And it's essentially just doing a slalom, find a line of trees and just zigzag back and forth between the trees. Show you this skill right now. It's one that I still try and do on the regular.
Find a nice line of trees, go nice and slow, keep the horizon level, and just like a skier, just slalom through the two objects. Keep your horizon nice and level. The great thing about this skill is you can just go faster and faster, and the more skilled you get, the faster you can go. And see, it's kind of awkward here because it's not equal distance between these two objects. Bonus points for having that. So again, we're just going to do a quick split S, line ourselves up, slow down, and then just nice and slow and smooth. It's not essential to go fast. Just flick yourself back and forth. Try and keep your horizon nice and level. I struggle to do this slowly myself because my up tilt is a little high for slow flying. Not flying a Cinewhoop. I had to bank there because I was coming in too fast. The only time you should be banking against your movement is if you have to brake on a turn. It's something you pick up more in like when you start flying like a multi-GP racetrack.
So then the final skill here is for when you feel like you've conquered the slalom and you want to step it up in difficulty a bunch. And it's essentially you just do the slalom, but you're going to orbit each object as you do the slalom, and you're going to orbit in opposite directions. And that's a really important thing so that you can learn to exit your orbits aiming for a target, but then also go into orbits at speed and be able to catch the coordination and keep traveling around the object. You'll see, again, more in the flight footage. Let's do this.
This next one, I want to say, will take a week or two of trying orbits to get down. But essentially, just orbit your object in a slalom, go in, orbit the next one in the opposite direction, go to the next one, orbit it. I'm really bad at this. I haven't done this drill in quite some time. But this way you get good practice at entering orbits at speed and trying to catch the coordination of maintaining the orbit. If you think of your drone as a ball at the end of a string that you're spinning in a circle, essentially you're trying to keep that string taut, and then each time you cut the string you fly towards your next orbit. I'm doing really bad here, but I think you get the idea. I have a little bit of battery left. Let's see if we can do this nice and smooth for sake of demonstration, but I haven't been practicing slow flying lately. I've just been flying racing and aggressive. So again, focus on level horizon as you do this. Oh, we crashed. There's panic mode. Punch to the sky, find the sky, punch out. We'll try that once more, nice and slow. There, level horizon. This whole talking and flying thing is a little awkward. I'm not used to it. And then, nice level horizon. There's a bit too much of a throttle punch there, because you want to try and keep your throttle nice and smooth. But my battery is giving out on me here, so I'm going to come back. But that is essentially all of the skills that I would suggest practicing on the daily. As you level up, you'll get faster at them, get better at them, and they're the most essential fundamental skills that you'll use in almost all flying at all moments. So the better you get at practicing all of these skills, the much better pilot you'll be.
Well, yeah, so those are my 9 essential skills. I said essential way too much in this video. If you stick to those as daily drills and practice them a lot, you're going to see dramatic improvements over the weeks, the days. Just stick with them. They're going to be difficult at first. I don't know that you're going to be able to do the slalom or the orbit on day one. That's going to take practice. Everything with FPV is a very long journey. You have to stick with it. You have to fight through the crashes and the repairs. But you'll get there. Eventually it'll become muscle memory to do all this stuff, and that's why I've laid out these specific skills. Is they're meant to help you fine-tune your muscle memory so that eventually you'll be able to just fly by thinking about it instead of thinking about what you're doing with your fingers on the controller. And as a thank you for sticking around through this entire video, a little tidbit of information that I find helps a lot of new pilots when I'm helping them in the sim is to understand control rates, which is essentially, if you played a video game, it's just your controller sensitivity. But there's 3. It's rate, super, and expo. And then rate is just a linear rate of how many degrees per second your drone will turn. I always set it to 1 because it's a good baseline. And then you can set your super, which is applying a curve, like an exponential curve to your controls, so that as you move further away from the center, it's going to start accelerating how quickly it's turning. It increases the velocity over how far you move the stick. It's too many big words, I'm sorry. Further the stick from the center, the faster it'll spin, is what super will do, instead of it being a constant rate. If your super is 0, it's going to be a constant rate of increase. If your super is higher than 0, the further, the quicker it's going to spin. And then the last one is expo, which is how soft it is in the middle of the sticks. It sort of flattens out the curve. It's not quite a dead zone, but it just makes the sticks a lot less sensitive in the middle so that you can move around, and it's easier to have more expo as a beginner pilot because then you can learn to control the center sticks a lot better with micro adjustments. So then up here, these are the rates that I use. I would suggest giving them a try, putting them in your controller or in your flight controller even. And once you have them set, you can try it out. I would suggest playing with your rates. Maybe read a video, watch a video on understanding rates. That's a whole nother topic to learn on another day. And yeah, again, thank you. I hope that these drills are of benefit to you. I hope you get out and practice them because I know they're going to help you a lot. But yeah, I have nothing else to say. Good luck. Welcome to the hobby, and I hope you stick with it. Fight through the repairs. Fight through the crashes. It's incredibly rewarding once you get there. Acro mode is very liberating. Yeah. Okay, just, you know, like, subscribe, all that, if you want to see more. I don't know. I'm just rambling at this point. I hate talking to cameras, sitting by myself, but we'll keep doing it.